Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome the Superintendent of McAllen Schools, Dr. Jay Gonzalez.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here at our McTalks series. We're very excited about today's event. I do want to emphasize the fact that this is a partnership between McAllen ISD and the McAllen Education Foundation, and it's all geared and aimed toward providing inspiration for our students. Before we get started with our program, I do want to thank some special individuals that are here with us today. I'll start with a board member, Conrado Alvarado. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your leadership and all that you do. Also want to thank our outstanding mayor, Mayor Jim Darling. Thank you for all that you do for our city. A special thank you to Annie Holland Miller, who's the president of the McAllen Education Foundation. Special thank you to Annie for all that she does in leading. We also have a McAllen Education Foundation Advisory Board member here, Mr. Kirk Clark. Thank you for being here, part of the board and one of our speakers. A special thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and our President and CEO, Mr. Steve Alanius. Thank you for your leadership and what you do for small business in our community. And President and CEO of the McAllen Economic Development Corporation, Mr. Keith Patridge. Thank you for your leadership in our community. Once again, students, thank you all for being here. I know that you are seniors, and a lot of the decisions that you are going to make in the near future are going to determine the pathway that you are on. And one of the reasons that we wanted to come together and share stories and bring some distinguished graduates and educators to talk to you all is to inspire you all to become the best version of yourself. So as you sit here today, please be engaged in what the audience should be taking in from our presenters. Be engaged and learn something from it. Let your heart capture something. Let your mind capture something, because after all, this is about you all. It's about making sure that we accomplish what we need to do as educators and fulfill everything that we need to do to put you in a position to excel. In my short presentation, I want to talk about 3 basic questions that we ask ourselves as a district, and that I think and I know that you can ask yourselves as individuals that'll propel you and help you set a vision and a blueprint or a game plan for life. 3 basic questions, but they're very powerful. Question number 1 is, as a district, who are we? Question number 2 is, where are we going? And number 3 is, how are we going to get there? So I'll start with question 1. From a district perspective, who are we? We're McAllen ISD. We're a family. We're a district of champions. And when we say we're a family, I've never met a perfect family, but I've met a lot of successful families. And in McAllen ISD, we pride ourselves in being a successful family because families come together and lean on one another and support one another and guide one another. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're always going to get along and we're always going to see things from the same point of view or perspective, but it always means that a great family is going to do what needs to be done for the betterment of the family. So in McAllen ISD, everything is aimed at student success. Every decision we make is for you all to put you in a position to be successful. So we're a family. The second part is we're a district of champions. And when we say we're a district of champions, we're not only talking about the fact that we win trophies and accolades and medals, because we do that and we do that well. We're not only talking about the fact that all 3 of our football teams are in the 6A state playoffs. Let's give them a round of applause. Warriors, Bulldogs, Mustangs. We're one of the only large districts that can say that all 3 of our teams are in the playoffs. We're not only saying we're a district of champions because our volleyball teams did very well. As a matter of fact, I went and saw Raul play, and I went and saw the Mustangs play against 2 successful, very powerhouse-type schools from San Antonio, and I'm telling you, we gave them a run for their money. We got their attention. The girls were fearless. They played like champions. We're not only talking about that. Let's give our girls a round of applause, our volleyball teams. And I can go on and on about the accolades. I can go on and on about all the great things that are going on in that perspective of being champions. When we say we're champions in McAllen ISD, we're saying that everyone in this room needs a champion. Everyone in this room needs somebody to lean on, to guide them, to mentor them, to help them pave the way. So in McAllen ISD, we say we're district of champions because we're champions for each other. So students, whether it's you leaning out to the mayor and asking him for guidance, or a school board member, or the superintendent, or the McAllen Education Foundation, or the chamber, or the McAllen Economic Development Corporation, or a community member or a business leader, I'm telling you, there's a lot of people in this community that will be a champion for you. You just got to go out and ask. Ask for advice. Ask for that letter of recommendation. Ask for a perspective, because they've already been down the path that you want to go down. So when I say we're a district of champions, we're champions for one another. When I say we're a family, we lean on one another. So who are we? We're McAllen ISD. We're a family. We're a district of champions. Where are we going? Question number 2. We are on this path to help you all, to help our students accomplish their dreams, whatever that dream may be. We're on a path to help you accomplish your dreams. And while we help you accomplish your dream, we will propel your families and our entire community to a higher level. So regardless of what your dream is, whether you want to get a high school diploma and get into the workforce, we want to help you do that well. Whether you want to get a high school diploma and go out and start your own business, get a license, a certificate, an associate's degree, a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate, a medical degree, join the military, whatever that dream is, we are going to put you in a position to excel. That's the path that we're on. But there's one thing I want to point out about dreams. And if you forget everything else I say, don't forget this. Dreams without goals remain dreams. Dreams without goals remain dreams, and ultimately fuel disappointment. Dreams on the path to accomplishment are fueled by discipline and consistency. Discipline and consistency. So students, make sure that as you move from your dream to reality, that you're driving that through discipline and consistency, and you set yearly goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, daily goals, hourly goals, minute by minute goals, and that you're focused on what you need to do to accomplish that dream. So where are we going as a district? We're on a path to help you all accomplish your dream, simultaneously propelling your family and our entire community to a higher level. And finally, how are we going to get there? The only way that we can get there is by working together. And that's why you see board members in this room. That's why you see our mayor in this room. That's why you see the McAllen Education Foundation. That's why the chamber's in it. That's why the McAllen Economic Development Corporation's in it. That's why your parents are in it. That's why our business community is in it. Because we know the only way we can help you accomplish your dream is by working together. So students, I appreciate your attention right now. You're engaged. Stay engaged. Let something be captured by your heart that's going to propel and make that part of your blueprint. Think about something in these stories, because we're going to hear some wonderful stories. The first story, the first McTalk we're going to hear, is from an individual who committed his life to music, bringing love to the world through music, inspiring students through music, and making the world a better place because of music.
Amby Tanner began his teaching career in McAllen in 1977. 32 years later, he retired with a phenomenal legacy, having impacted the lives of thousands of students. He first taught at what was then known as Lamar Junior High. He moved on to Nikki Rowe in 1990. At Rowe, more than 250 students a year took part in choir, which included 6 performing ensembles and the show choir Razzmatazz. He was named the district's secondary teacher of the year in 2002 and later became the regional teacher of the year. He also served as the music director at the First Methodist Church in McAllen. Following his retirement, both the Texas House of Representatives and State Senate passed resolutions honoring him for his work. He continues to teach part-time and conduct workshops for schools and universities.
Please welcome Mr. Amby Tanner.
Good morning. What an honor and a privilege. I guess I'm just going to tell you a little bit about how I got to McAllen, I guess. I had a really interesting childhood. I was kidnapped by Cherokee Indians when I was 2 years old. And y'all don't believe that, do you? No, I wasn't kidnapped. I had a real strict parents, real strict upbringing. Did pretty well in school. But my junior year, I don't know why, my junior year I started to really concentrate on school. And I did well in high school. Graduated, and I started off as a math major at a junior college there in Fort Worth. And then I went to TCU, and then I came down here in '77, spent some time, 13 years at Lamar and then 19 years at Rowe High School. You know, I'm trying to think, why, if I had some success, why did I have it? Well, there's two reasons. One of them is I just worked harder, put in more hours than my competitors. And that's what I kind of looked at. I wanted to be really good. The most insulting thing somebody can call me is to tell me I'm average. I just hate that feeling. And I hope you all don't want to be average, whatever you turn out to be, whatever career you choose. I hope you want to be outstanding. And to be outstanding, well, I'll be real honest with you. It wasn't my good looks that gave me any success. Sorry. It wasn't certainly my voice that gave. If you heard me sing, you would not believe I was a choir director. Don't have that talent. I don't have that good of an ear. So I had to make up for that somehow. Anyway, I just worked harder. I put in more hours than the other people around me because I didn't want to be just average. And I hope you all don't want to be average when you grow up. And I'm just curious now. Yeah, I can see you like this. Would you all stand up if you know what you're going to major in next year? Pretty sure you know what you're going to do. Wow, great. Okay, now would you sit down? I'm good to get out of the lights. Now, could I have the first 7 rows stand up over here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Would y'all stand up? No, not enough. Add the 8th row. 8th row, would you stand up? Okay, according to statistics, that's how many of you will end up staying with the major that you declare next year. Sit down. Everyone else stand up. Everyone else except those 8. This is the percentage of you that will change your mind about what you want to major in over the next 4 years. Sit down. It's just going to be weird. Going off to college is a different lifestyle. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk too long. I'm just going to get comfortable. You're going to find out, you know, a lot of you are going to have to pay your own bills, buy your own food, all that kind of stuff. And that is a different lifestyle. So what I'm saying, I'm encouraging you to keep your mind open about what you are going to do in college. Just keep your mind open and realize that maybe, possibly what you think about majoring in may not be where you end up, but that's okay. What you just want to make sure you do is you find out, you choose a major or you choose a pathway where you can really enjoy what you're doing. I was a math major my first year in college, and I was really good in math. And I took one other course other than math in your basic college courses, and that was choir. And I found myself looking forward to choir every day. I just really enjoyed singing. So around the end of my freshman year, I said, what am I going to do for the next 40 years? Do I want to work with numbers the next 40 years, or do I want to work with music? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be a mathematician or anything like that. It just wasn't what I wanted to do. Anyway, so I was fortunate. I ended up getting my degree and coming down here and teaching some great kids and having a great time making music with those kids. So anyway, let me get to the point because I'm sure I'm out of time. Find something you really look forward to, something you want to do, and then you just got to work real, real hard to be successful at it. Well, I'm old. Find a job, find a career. Don't find a job, find a career. A job is something you get paid to do. A career is something, I don't know, it's a passion, something you have a passion about. Do that and work really, really hard. Thank you.
Great job. I can tell you firsthand the difference that he's made in the lives of many students. You think of the razzmatazz, you think of all the students that love music because of Mr. Tanner. It's just magic. So when he talks about finding a passion, he exemplifies that. All the times that I saw him leading a choir, he did it with all his heart and soul. So whatever you choose to do, do it with all your heart and soul, whatever that may be. But we challenge you to, when you get out into the real world, represent yourself, represent your family, represent your community, and do the very, very best that you can. Our next presenter focused on theater, acting, and bringing that to life. The artistic form of getting into character and being able to send a message through that very same passion.
Raul Castillo was born to act, an actor on stage, screen, and television. He is most recognized for his portrayal of Richie on the HBO series Looking. His portrayal earned him awards for the Best Comedic Actor and one from the National Association of Latino Independent Producers. Last year, he starred in a Netflix film called Special Correspondence, a comedy written and directed by Ricky Gervais. He is also filming a recurring role in the CW's Riverdale, based on Archie's comics. He has enjoyed guest appearances on 4 TV shows and appeared in multiple films since his debut in 2007. Raul is also a playwright, having authored several plays. He graduated from McAllen High in 1995 and studied theater at Boston University's School of Fine Arts. He was recently included in Variety magazine's 10 Latinos to Watch list and has completed work on 3 independent films.
Please welcome Mr. Raul Castillo.
When I was transitioning from private to public school, I was playing music and I was playing bass, and I thought about joining orchestra. But because I hadn't done it during junior high, I wasn't allowed to choose orchestra as an elective because I didn't have any formal training at that point. So I had to choose an elective, and at that point there was a bunch of guys at Mac High actually doing really exciting stuff in the drama department, and a bunch of girls from my junior high had gone to see Pippin, the musical, and they all came back talking about how great Eddie Martinez was, and like they all had crushes on it. And so I was a little bit jealous, and I said, you know what, I think drama would be kind of cool because girls seem to like actors, so so that's why I was like, okay, I'll do drama. And I was a bit of a ham and a bit of a clown, so I thought it would be a good outlet for that because I like to make people laugh. And so I went to 9th grade center, and I had a teacher there, Miss Rosie Solis, who I haven't heard from in ages, but she told me that she saw some potential in me, and she said to me, I think you have real potential in this, but I think at the time I mumbled a lot, I stuttered quite a bit, and she said, I think you need to see a speech therapist. And I heard the word therapist, and I was like, oh, no way, that's not for me, I thought. So I continued to do drama. I came to Mac High my sophomore year, and I was under Mr. John Farr and Mrs. Rachel Gomez, who later went to PSJ, and they were my teachers here. And there were actors who I loved, that I admired, and I thought that what it took to be a good actor was to sing, which I couldn't do, and to have really great diction, and to be a great mimic, to be able to do accents, and I couldn't do any of that. So I thought, I can't really be an actor, but I love this stuff. I love getting on stage. I love having fun. I just kept doing it. And I got into playwriting. At the time, I went to the library. Is over here, right? Yeah, over here? Yeah, okay. So I was at the library, and I found this old black and white copy of a play called Short Eyes by a writer named Miguel Piñero, who's from New York. And Miguel Piñero had been in Rikers Island prison, and he had written this play, and it had gone to Broadway, and had become quite a success. And from reading that, I learned, I thought that you had to come from a certain background to be a playwright. And when I read Miguel Piñero's words and his plays, he taught me that you could just speak your truth, and that was enough. So I started writing plays at that time, and I thought, well, maybe this is what I can do, and I can go to college and be a playwright. So my friend Tanya Saracho at the time, she's also graduated from Mac High. She said, you could do this, but if you want to get out, because I love McAllen. My entire family is here, and I come back as often as possible. But at the time, I knew that I wanted to go somewhere far. I just wanted to experience the world. And my friend Tanya had applied to Boston University, and she was encouraging me to do the same. And I didn't have a good, I was a sophomore at the time. I didn't have a good grade point average. It sounds like you guys had a lot better grade point averages than I did at the time. But my friend really, she was like, you better, you got to get into honors classes. You got to do this, you got to do that if you want to get into a good school. So I started working really hard because I wanted to try to get, I wanted to try to get a good scholarship, and I wanted to go to New York, but I was a little intimidated by New York, so Boston was like sort of my gateway to New York. So I got accepted to BU. I went to BU. I acted all 4 years I was there. I was writing. I was there as a playwright, but I was acting the whole time. And I graduated. I didn't know what I wanted to do. To be quite honest, I thought it's how you deal with setbacks is what determines your character. And at the time, I was, whenever, like, if someone told me that I wasn't good at something, sometimes I would believe them, even though I knew in my heart that that's what I wanted to do. So I didn't know what I wanted. I moved to Austin for a few years, and that's when I discovered film. I did my first short film there as an actor. I kept acting. And then when I did film, some people can't transition from theater to film. It's a very different medium. And I did my first short film, and it went well. I got some accolades. I went to some film festivals, and I said, you know what? I'm either going to move to New York or LA and pursue, maybe I'll keep doing this acting thing because people seem to respond to it. I didn't think I could be an actor because I didn't think I had the polish or those things that you think are the things that make an actor. But I knew that when I acted, I brought my heart and my soul to it, and that's what I could do. And people would respond to that. So I moved to New York in 2002, and I started doing a lot of off-Broadway theater, off-Broadway theater, off-Broadway. I mean, just like little plays and like people's houses, like all kinds of funny shenanigans, and do an occasional like independent film. I finally got an agent, poco poquito, like just getting there a bit, and then 10 years went by, and I was doing a play in Chicago, and I had a one-way ticket to Los Angeles, and I said, I'm just gonna move to LA. I'll just move to LA, I'll do it. I was with a big agency at the time, and I said, I'll move to LA, because I had done all these independent films. I had done like a couple of guest stars on TV or with Law and Order or whatever, but like it hadn't really picked up, and I wasn't making a living. And so it was the last weekend I was doing this play, and I get a phone call from my agent at the time. And the way acting works is you have an agent that submits you for roles, and they dropped me. I got dropped. I had a one-way ticket from Chicago to LA to go be an actor, and I got dropped by my agent. So I got to LA, and I had no agent. I had no car. I had no license because I let my driver's license from McAllen expire, and LA without a car is not fun. So a friend of mine offered me a place in New York that was cheap, and I can go back to New York and get back on my feet. So I did that. I went back to New York, and that was the summer of 2012, and I was sort of really depressed. I thought that I would never work again, and I got to a place where I almost thought I was going to give up because I had done so much. I'd spent 10 years in New York, and nothing had come of it. I mean, I had some little credits here and there, but it wasn't, I wasn't working, and I wasn't making a living doing what I was doing, and I finally said, what else can I do? And since I started doing this, I never said, what else can I do? Because I never wanted to do anything else. I never imagined doing anything else. And I remember talking to my friend Tanya at the time, the woman I was just telling you about, who was also a McAllen Bulldog 94. And she was writing for TV and miserable because she had this horrible misogynistic boss. And she was like, okay, I'm finally making a living. She's like, what else can I do? Because I don't want to do this. And I got scared because I'd never thought about what else I could do. And I thought back to when I was in Boston, and my sister, I have a younger sister, 2 years younger than me. She had gotten accepted to DePaul in Chicago. She went to the business school up there. And it was her freshman year at DePaul. And she called me, and she had this horrible roommate. She was crying. She was like, I just want to go home. I don't think this is for me. And she wanted to give up. She wanted to come back home because she was, she didn't feel supported. I just told her, look, and like sometimes you just got to cry. Sometimes you just got to get it out of your system. And sometimes you get put in these uncomfortable situations, but you got to work through it. And she did. She stayed there. She worked. She changed roommates the next semester. She got a roommate that she ended up liking. She made friends for life, and she stayed, and she got her degree from DePaul. And I thought back to my sister and how she toughed it out. And I thought to advice that a friend had given me one time that to focus on the things that I can change and to let go of the things that I can't, which I think a lot of us have heard variations of that lesson. And I started to think about myself and acting and started applying those principles and trying to understand how I could do what I do and be better at it. And I took an audition class, and that helped me to get more comfortable in the room. And then I booked I literally made this sort of a shift in my thinking and how I was going to approach my work. And a couple months later, I had done this short film that was essentially the prototype for the show, Looking, that I ended up doing for HBO. And I got invited to audition for it, and I got the role, and that pretty much changed my life, and I've been working ever since then. And I've gotten to work with some really great people. I just finished the film with George Lopez and Raul Castillo. I worked on a show earlier this year that's going to be out on Netflix next year called 7 Seconds, and I've managed to make it, but I was this close to giving up, and I think we'll all get to that point at some point or other in our lives, and I think it's important to step back when that happens and to give ourselves a little bit of love, some self-care, because I know that I was sometimes my worst enemy, and I know that we can do that for each other a lot of times. So if I can impart anything, is that I was on the verge of giving up, and then I didn't, and I hope that you guys continue to do what you do, and I think what Dr. Tanner said about being open to different choices in life are okay. I think it's okay to stay open, especially at this point in your life, because the world really is your oyster, and you guys have so much potential. I feel so lucky to be able to be here and talk to you guys. I was in these seats where you guys are now, and I went to Roe, I went to Mac High, I had friends that went to Memorial. You guys remind me of, it reminds me of being in school, so I feel really honored, and thank you for listening to my story, and I hope that it was of some use to you guys, but thank you guys.
Another round of applause for Raul Castillo. What a beautiful story. Powerful message, speaking our truth, never giving up, being resilient, having grit. All those things are important as you move through life. Life has ups, life has downs. But we can learn from our presenters that you have to be gritty, you have to be resilient, you have to overcome obstacles, and don't ever let anybody tell you you can't accomplish something. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't be something. And if and when they do, use that for fuel to prove that you can. Because our speakers are proving that anything is possible with the right attitude, with the right work ethic, and with a determination to never ever give up. And that's the message you're trying to plant in your heart right now, students, is that you're about to get into this real world, and that it's going to take a lot of hard work to accomplish whatever it is that dream is, but you can do it. And don't let anybody ever tell you different. Our next presenter loves art, is one of the best artists that I know of, one of the most intelligent gentlemen that I know of, that thinks deeply into what he paints. I'm excited for you to hear his story.
Kirk Clark was born to a family committed to the arts. His mom and dad, both enthusiastic artists, collected as well as created. In fact, they helped found the International Museum of Art and Science in the mid-1960s. At the age of 10, Kirk completed his first painting. It won Best of Show at the Mission Citrus Fiesta Art Show that year. As his lifelong love for art began to soar, he graduated from McAllen High School and went on to study at the University of New Mexico, where he majored in sculpture and drawing. Since then, his career has drawn him to art shows across the United States, Mexico, and Europe. He has been a car dealer since 1976, but art remains his true passion. Both he and his wife Jerry continue to support public art and believe strongly in the importance of educational experiences for children in the Rio Grande Valley.
Please welcome Mr. Kirk Clark.
It's great to be with you today, and it's a real deja vu for me to be back here, having been the first graduating class out of this facility in 1964.
Yay!
Well, I'm just about to experience my 72nd birthday, so I've been around a while. I've been involved in the car business for 48 years in a management position, and I'm owner of Charles Clark Chevrolet Company. I'm third generation car dealer there. And then Clark Knapp Honda in Farr. I've been an insurance agent since 1976. Have an Allstate insurance agency that my son Alex is a partner in, and he's the managing partner for our agency, and also vice president of Clark Chevrolet. And my younger son, Danny, who just turned 27 today, is our business development center manager at Clark Chevrolet, and it's so nice. I was so lucky to grow up in a business that I had total respect for my father, who was the most honest man that I'd ever known, really almost to a fault. He was so honest that he would not use the company to pay for his postage. He brought his own postage stamps because he didn't want to take advantage of the company. And that's something that really indelibly stuck with me, is don't cut off the head of the goose thinking that you're going to get more golden eggs. You're going to kill the goose. So it's always important to think about what you can do for your company to help your company succeed. And there are three recommendations, three requirements that I place on myself and everyone that works in my organizations. I have about 250 employees, and the first one is to be approachable. Now, by that I mean that whether or not it's a fellow worker or a customer, you're there to listen and fully understand. Listen, and this is one of the critical points in my career because I've had to work very hard at it. You listen with the intent to understand, not with the intent to respond. And if you have any questions about what you heard the other person say, ask them if you can repeat it in your words and get affirmation that what you were able to repeat back to them was in fact what they intended to say. Once you do that, so many arguments can be avoided when people tend to go like this because they really didn't understand what the other person said. So listening with the intent to understand is very important, and being approachable, being open, being part of something larger than yourself. The other is being coachable. And being coachable means that living in today's society, there's constant and dramatic change. Somebody asked me just yesterday, how has the car business changed? And I said, frankly, it's changed more in the last 2 years than the last 46 years I've been in the business combined. I mean, the world of the internet, social media, the instantaneous need to communicate and get the proper answer and be honest and open is, if you can't, you're not going to be successful. So we've always got to be listening to our owners and developing new ways to learn about these new ways throughout our organization. And I'm very proud that my two sons, one's 31, one's 27, are in charge of training our employees. Now you ask, well, these are young guys. They haven't been in business that long. How are they coaching the coaches? Well, they do a lot of research. My older son got his master's from St. John's in Santa Fe, New Mexico, in humanities and critical thinking. Well, very early on when he came into the business, we realized that he can take this broad spectrum of information and bring it right down to its essence and give us alternatives, just almost like that. So we said, man, we really need somebody to lead in the training of our salespeople, our service advisors, our service personnel, our parts counter people, because communication is absolutely essential, both internally and externally. So coachability is an extremely important thing. And the last thing I ask of people is hold yourself accountable for your own results and also for the results of your team. And that accountability is something that I must admit has been one of my hardest lifetime challenges to accept responsibility for myself. I'm pretty good about being able to point to some other reason other than my own faults for something not going right. Does that sound familiar to anyone? But I've been in business, as I say, for 48 years. I've seen lots of changes. The one thing that I can say that I'm most proud of is being born here in McAllen, May 2nd, 1946. Growing up in this community, I remember as a kid, we hardly knew how to lock a door, you know, because no one was going to break in. All our neighbors got together, we had meals together. And just, you know, I remember as a kid, when Sputnik was launched into outer space by the Russians, man, it was like somebody dropped a black cloud on the United States of America. And we had a black and white TV, and I'll never forget, all the neighbors came over, and we were all sitting around this kitchen table with this little small black and white TV, and there was an image of a chrome ball with 4 extendable antennas, like the old car antennas, and it was going ping, ping, and we were transfixed. I said, what's next? You know, this is amazing. That's out there orbiting around the United States. So I'm covering a little ground here. But the one thing I will say that I have really appreciated is how dedicated our educators are to you. And what your superintendent was telling you is the absolute truth. And what each one of these speakers preceding said is the absolute truth. One of the things about me that's a little different for a businessman is I'm a pretty serious artist. I have a show right now at the Museum of Biblical History and the National Center for Jewish Art in Dallas called Intuition. And it's probably my 100th show. I've had 17 shows in Mexico. I've shown in Italy, Chicago, all around. But it balances me out. It's something that I really, really enjoy doing. And I enjoy artists. I enjoy meeting artists, learning more about art. But it's added to a quality of life. And I will say another thing too, I use it in a different way, and if I were not a businessman that had had some success, I couldn't afford to do it. And that is that 100% of the proceeds of the sale of my artwork go to churches and charities all around the world, including 2 orphanages, one in Laos and one in Cambodia. So, thank you. So it keeps me really motivated to do more and to care more. And all I know is that our education system here, I know the people. I've served as an advisor on the McAllen Education Foundation Board, and I know how hard they work, and I know how much they care, and I know how much your superintendent cares, I know how much your mayor cares, and I want you to know the business community cares too. And that's one of the things we're developing in all phases of our business. We just started a new program. We went to a 43-hour work week for all of our employees. And it's optional because some of them would like to be there longer, but there are certain circumstances where they can work longer, but there are conditions to it. We want people to have a family life. We want them to have a life outside the business. But when they come back to our business, we want them to be totally focused, totally engaged. We have a business development center that's actually connecting through the internet and incoming phone calls to set up appointments for our salespeople. And it's a very dynamic program, very challenging, but we're developing training, video training, 20-minute segments for every department in the dealership. So when a new person comes in, they don't have to guess about what the boss wants. So it's fun to watch. It's not something I could have done, but it is something my sons have taken on, and they're doing an excellent job with it. And the employees seem to appreciate it, and their efficiency is improving all the time as they really learn the importance of continuing to learn more about their trade and more about people. But what it all breaks down to in the service and the insurance business, if you're not willing to serve, if that's not your first motivation, if you're thinking about the buck you're going to make as a consequence of engaging that customer, you're never really going to be that successful. You have to have your heart in it. You have to be able to show empathy. You've got to be able to put yourself in the customer's shoes and say, how can I serve this person to the maximum of my ability. And that's the fundamental of what education is about, is to find your passion, find what you love, focus on it intently, set those goals like the superintendent was saying, and find people that you respect in the community and ask them to share with you what their principles are. I remember one thing I've done for many years is when I travel, and I get to travel a lot, I'll always look for an older person, I mean really older than me, and I'll go up and ask them if they look happy. I said, what do you attribute the smile on your face to? You know, you just have this nice warmth about you. And I've done this about 100 times, and on the average, everyone says pretty much the same thing. They say moderation in all things, and family is the most important, but so are our friends, where you gotta nurture those relationships. So it's great to be here with you today. Thank you for having me. Come see me at Clark Chevrolet or Clark Knapp Honda. And we're always looking for people that would like to start a career, and we do have career paths. So it's nice to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. To sit there and really listen. I was observing the audience, and I was saying, this group is really engaged, and they're going to take something, and this is going to be a moment of impact. This is going to be something that they're going to take away, and somewhere down the road, I hope that you say, back in 2017, I was in a McTalk, and I was a senior, and I heard from Amby Tanner, or I heard from Raul Castillo, or I heard from Kirk Clark, and they shared their story. And there's something that I took away from that story. And there's something that guided me, a principle that guided me, because students, we want you all to accomplish your dreams, whatever that dream may be. And then we want you to come back after you've reached your goals and share your story and continue paying it forward so that generation after generation we leverage the success of McAllen ISD. And you've heard examples of graduates that came from this very school or other schools within our district and have gone out into the world and made big change and have been resilient, grinding, not giving up, being determined, speaking their truth. And even sometimes along this path, it's going to get tough. I'd be lying to you if I told you it wasn't. It's going to get tough, but know this for sure. Take the lessons you learned from our presenters today. Take the lessons you've learned from your family. Take the lessons you've learned from living. Put them all together and establish a blueprint that's going to help you accomplish your dreams. But we don't want you to give up. Whatever it is that you do, do it with all your heart. It reminds me of a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. He says, if a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted, or as Beethoven composed music, or as Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause and say, here lived the street sweeper, and he did his job well. Thank you for your attention.